Hey, this is Anney
and Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I'll Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio.
And we're back with another happy hour. Yay! And it's been a long first month of the year. Like, it's never ending. It feels like it should be like 106th day of January, maybe.
Yeah.
It just seems like a never-ending drag of all these things happening. So if it feels like you're being overwhelmed with a lot of bad, you're not the only one. I think you've heard us say it many a times. We feel overwhelmed and everything's the worst. And it may be the doom scrolling, or it may be that the plan is to paralyze you with fear. But before we start, this happy hour isn't just a wine and session that I typically do, but a conversation we need desperately and something I need to shake out as we try to survive the next 4 years. You know how we do with the happy hours. Before we start, find a comfortable seat. If you're sipping on something special, do so responsibly. Whatever you're doing, do so responsibly. If you're in panic mode, this is a good conversation to have. I think you should take the time to listen to this. So we are talking about current affairs, but it is something that we need to talk about. But before we start, we're actually drinking a little fancy drinks today. Instead of going for the newer companies, we came back to a goodie. And Anney, can you tell us what you're drinking right now?
Yes. I am drinking Black Girl Magic Bubbly Red in a can that Samantha delivered to me, was kind enough to deliver to me yesterday.
I was playing DoorDash yesterday, not a sponsor. Not saying they're a sponsor. Yeah, because I was going around. I've been looking for like just easy, ready-made drinks for us who just need a quick sip of something nice and refreshing. And I forgot that Black Girl Magic, who is the McVey sisters, created their own line of canned beverages. So we got that red, because we both love red, and this is effervescent, which I was like, what? A bubbly red? How does it taste? Because I haven't opened mine yet.
Oh, it's really good. I thought my concern with bubbly reds is that they'll be too sweet, and it's not at all. It's very crisp. It's got a nice bite. But it's really pleasant. It kind of made my with the tartness a little bit, but it's balancing out. It's really good. I like it a lot.
Okay. I think it's a Cabernet Sauvignon, right?
Yes.
Okay. And shout out, if you want to know more about the McVey sisters and their wine, we have a past episode. Maybe we can bring it back and let y'all hear about them as a classic. But yeah, we did feature them before, so go back and listen. And they're huge. They're huge. I love it. They are now available everywhere. I saw them at Trader Joe's recently. They have a bubbly. Cool. Yeah, they're doing their thing. I have their She Can, so they have a whole special edition. She Can. It says Break the Rules. Break the rules, drink the wine is their little logo for it. And it's tropical spritz. So it's a carbonated rosé wine. And it donates to the McVey sisters She Can Fund, which supports the advancement of women in male-dominated industries with scholarships, memberships, and communities, which is super, super cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to open it on mic. Y'all, if you don't like that crisp sound of an opening can, don't listen. Okay, and I'm going to taste it right now. Ooh, that's nice. It is nice. Yeah, like the rosé with the fruitiness. So you've got that little, the wine bite with an extra kick.
Yeah.
It's like tangerine to me.
Ooh. We just did an episode on tangerines for Savor.
Oh, really?
So.
Oh,
well, yeah.
There's so many brands and breeds and
levels. That's why I sighed, is because tangerine we did a much larger category, but tangerines is one. Anyway.
Angelos, all of those. Oh, Oro.
It gave me a huge headache, Samantha.
Yeah,
it was a really difficult
I have a specific kind that I like that I'm like, I wait for the season because it's easy to peel off. And it's very Asian people love oranges.
Yeah.
All people do, I guess. I apologize. Anyway, but back to, so that we are drinking that as we are having this very detailed conversation because we're going to support as many marginalized businesses as possible. And that includes women-led businesses and Black-owned businesses because for the next 4 years, we are going to push back with our money. Am I right? I am right.
Yeah.
I'm also doing that with local businesses as well. So I did go to our local beverage shop. as you will. That's only in Atlanta. I don't think I've seen it anywhere else. But they're a local area. Greens, also not a sponsor. But if you're in Atlanta, they've got a great section of alcohols and then some.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, with everything we have to find a middle ground. And it's easy to be overwhelmed. So we wanted to talk about what is happening with this shock and awe of this administration. A lot has happened. Executive orders have been signed, not legally, not all of them legally. There are so many things that they are being pushed back on. And I think it's important that we have this conversation of what is happening in our administration. Typically, this would be something that we talk about on our Monday Mini, but I need to figure this out as a person who is trying to get as much detailed, correct, and accurate information as possible, and feeling like everything in the U.S. has been censored or is propaganda somehow, one way or the other. So I really feel like trying to get my bearings, and I think I know I'm not the only one. Listener, I'm sure you're with us. I know Annie feels the same way in so many respects, right? Putting words in your mouth now.
Yeah, no, I do. I mean, I had to be like, you can't overreact at everything because you'll just drown. And I'm actually somebody who likes to let the dust settle before I deal with it, because otherwise, who knows if what you saw somewhere or heard somewhere is true exactly, because it's all so fast paced. And so I like to, not get too caught up in it. But I mean, I'm human and sometimes it happens, but I definitely have friends where I have to say, I can tell you're spiraling. You're sending me all these texts. It's okay.
Right.
I mean, it's not okay, but
we have to deal with this and just breathe. So that is something that I think we do need to talk about. So yesterday, I saw on a TikTok a woman named Jennifer Walters, and her handle is It's Jennifer Walter, and I believe this is on Threads, I guess on Instagram. And again, her handle is It's Jennifer Walter, and I think it's something that we really need to think about. So I want to read her thread right now. Go and I don't know much about her other works, but she is a sociologist, so I think it says a lot. But here's what she says. As a sociologist, I need to tell you, your overwhelm is the goal. The flood of 200 plus executive orders in Trump's first day exemplifies Naomi Klein's shock doctrine, using chaos and crisis to push through radical changes while people are too disoriented to effectively resist. This isn't just politics as usual. It's a strategic exploitation of cognitive limits. Media theorist McLuhan predicted this. When humans face information overload, they become passive and disengaged. The rapid-fire executive orders create a cognitive bottleneck, making it nearly impossible for citizens and media to thoroughly analyze any single policy. Agenda-setting theory explains the strategy. When multiple major policies compete for attention simultaneously, it fragments public discourse. Traditional media can't keep up with the pace, leading to superficial coverage. The result? Weakened democratic oversight and reduced public engagement. So that's something that I think we need to have that conversation. This is on purpose. They've been talking about doing this. Steve Bannon, one of his advisors from old, has talked about the fact that this is what they were going to do. This was the intent. Project 2025 kind of talks about that as well. And he doesn't care if it's going to work. Mm-hmm. The administration does not care. They want that shock to overwhelm the headlines. And that is what is happening. So every time you hear something with breaking news, and there's a TikTok creator whom I don't quite trust, but he has a lot of information, who comes out with breaking news. And he probably posts, he's got to be exhausted, like 10 times a day with different news about what is happening within the U.S. and specifically what is happening with this administration. And it's not because he's trying to overwhelm us. Maybe he is. I don't know. I don't think he's an op, as the Gen Zers would say, but maybe he is. I don't know. Because he's giving good information and accurate information. It's just a lot. And that is the point. So I think we have to have a conversation about what this is. With everything, we have to find a middle ground. And that is something that, as a Libra, if I don't have that, I'm going to fall asleep because my narcolepsy is going to pop in. I'll be like, nope, stressed, going to bed. And it's easy to be overwhelmed. And as a normal citizen, you're not going to be able to fix the problem on your own or immediately. But as a citizen, we can make a difference. So both of those things, you're not the most important here. And you're not the key player, but you are a part of this puzzle. So both of these middle lines. I feel like when we talk about the main character syndrome, this is what kind of happens. Like you feel like you have to do it immediately, and if you don't, it's all your fault. So it's both overwhelming, guilt-ridden, and at the same time a little bit narcissistic. Mm-hmm. It's all of these things. So Jennifer Walter goes on to talk about some solutions. She says, what now? So 1, set boundaries. Pick 2 to 3 key issues you deeply care about and focus your attention there. You can't track everything. That's by design. Impact comes from sustained focus, not scattered awareness. So focus. Use aggregators and experts. Find trusted analysts who do the heavy lifting of synthesis. Look for those explaining patterns, not just events. So again, we kind of gave you a list of people and a lot of people that you could look to get for more information. That was for a reason. Remember, feeling overwhelmed is the point. When you recognize this, you regain some power. Take breaks. Process. This is a marathon. And that's the beginning. They're trying to get you to get tired out at the very beginning so you give up and you get numb to it. Stop. Practice going slow. Wait 48 hours before reacting to new policies. So the way you're saying, let the dust settle? Yes. The urgent clouds, the important. Initial reporting often misses context.
Yes.
Huge. Build community. Share the cognitive load. Different people attract different issues. Network intelligence beats individual overload. Again, you're part of the puzzle. You're not the main character here. We got to come together. It's the whole communism thing. I'm just kidding. I'm about to get... We're already on a list, right, Anney? I feel like we're probably on a list already. Mm-hmm. Remember, they want you scattered. Your focus is resistance. Once again, this is just that immediate moment of conversation and understanding. When you're feeling that scattered and overwhelmed, we get there, we're all there. Like COVID's already kind of f***ed us up real good in that level of chaos. And so what we want to do is hide and seclude ourselves. This is not that point. You can take breaks. You need to take breaks. Let's add that into this. You're not going to solve every problem. We're not going to solve all the problems. You need to consider what is important at this point for you and focus on that. So I think that's really important. Like we talked about intersectionality, yes, but there's a lot of us and we can all have segments of our own.
Yes. And I think another important part of that is knowing when you are agreeing with someone or being kind of maybe performative, you're taking up space. Yes. So like know who should, like if you're not the expert, if it's an issue you care about, but it's not one of your like 3 main issues, perhaps, just know the difference between showing support and kind of taking up space.
Yes. Unnecessarily amount of space. Talking too much for no reason. You don't need to contribute.
You don't need to have a hot take on everything. You don't. I get it.
I get hot takes. No. I got some takes.
Just kidding. I'm just saying I get the like the feeling, but it's especially if you haven't waited for the dust to settle. Just
right. And I think that's the other conversation here is if you feel offended by your peers by something because they didn't take your recommendation or they don't think whatever you think is important to them right now, you need to take a look at why you're doing this. That's a you problem. I'm going to put that out there. I'm going to call you in and tell you that's part of the problem. And that is what Anney was saying was performative. If you are so like, I have to be the center of this, and to you, that might not be the thing because that's the main character syndrome. Mm-hmm. You just have to figure out what is best for the collective.
Yes.
Sounds very apocalyptic, don't it? So again, with all of that, take the time to work through your emotions.
Yes.
And I know, you know what? I will say the marginalized community, women, people of color, they're the best at knowing that. Like they understand that. Mm-hmm. So we know how to go through that because we've been told that we need to. So that we're a pro at that. at this point, right?
Yeah.
But make sure you're doing that in this moment. Make a plan and research your information. Research your information. Find the community to plan those things out with. Like, you need to have this community. And as a reminder, there was another TikTok that I really thought was good, where they talked about the fact that it's a new form of propaganda, they think, in which they don't give you all the information. And then if the information is wrong, they come back and backtrack and be like, no, that's not what we said. That's what they said. They misinterpreted us. This is what we're saying about keeping up to date and letting the dust settle. Both of those things are important because you don't know exactly what's happening. Now, what just happened with the federal funding freeze, that's one of the big conversations. Like, what they're trying to gaslight everyone. Like, no, we didn't say that. I don't know who did that. That was just a blackout. The government is trying to gaslight us into thinking that we made that up.
Yep. You know where I saw this play out? On Nextdoor, of all places. Huge fight broke out of people being like, that's not what happened. And other people being like, yes, it is. And I was like, whoa, gosh. Wow.
Wow. Exactly. The conversation is like, wow. But with all of that, I think we need to remember what this is about. Again, like I said, this is partially me hashing it out myself because I've been so overwhelmed and wanted to give up. But we can't.
Yeah.
And especially those who are not Black women who, again, are like, we're done. We're going to take a break. Rightly so. We have to have this conversation. We have to pick it back up. And when I say that about Black women, they're not. They want to say that out loud, but they, as people who have been at the front of these fights, would like to say that. But we know they don't. We wish they could take a break.
Yeah.
And they're unfortunately the ones that understand the most about what is happening and what the price to pay. So I know it's a lot.
Yep.
And thank you for hanging there with me and Annie. If you have thoughts about this, please send us messages. We love messages.
We do. We do love messages. And as always, resources, any suggestions, send them our way. You can email us at hello@stuffwenevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at MomStuffPodcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff Mom Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have a TeePublic store and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff Mom Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts on iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.